Hey guys, Brandon here. Something that I've been kind of struggling with recently has been financial stress. So I wanted to take the time to kind of create some tips on how I've been able to manage some financial stress and kind of really give some encouragement on how to, really make the sacrifices that are needed to make life better in the future because, hey, it sucks to have $10 in the bank account after each paycheck. I get it. I've been there. I'm not some financial guru. I'm not Dave Ramsey or anything like that. I haven't gone to school for this. I'm just a guy who's been in the trenches just like you. So if you're like me and you just need some tips and tricks and just some encouragement, then hopefully this video is going to help you out. So with that being said, let's dive right into some things that I've written down on a whiteboard that has helped me just kind of lay out everything that I need to know in order to move forward each month. Now, this is going to look different for everybody. So I'm not going to expect these numbers to look anywhere near yours. Mine might actually look pretty low compared to yours. Or it may look high compared to yours, depending on your living situation. I'm going to err on the side of low because I have worked kind of hard to get my financial situation under wraps. But I'm going to tell you some national averages for America that may be more in line with yours. It may be too high. It may be lower than yours. Just punch in some numbers that make sense for you and just kind of understand where you're coming from your standpoint. So, with that being said, the most important thing that we're going to need to understand first is what is your monthly intake? How much money are you making each month? Because obviously, if you're not making the moolah, how are you going to be able to actually spend the money to survive? Now, one thing that I needed to learn pretty quick is just because you're making $15 an hour, which nowadays is kind of low for something like Washington, which is where I live right now, maybe $19 an hour or even $25 an hour. That's a pretty good wage per hour. You have to keep in mind that each state might take an income tax. So try and take that into account with how much money that you are making per month. So for example, 10%. We're taking 10% out of Washington's income tax, which is, in my opinion, kind of a lot, but we deal with the cards that we're dealt. So in my monthly paycheck, I write down how much I'm making after taxes. Now, I'm not going to show how much that I'm going to make because that's my own personal information. I just felt like I wanted to keep that my own my own personal information. But I will show you kind of what I am putting down as far as my expenses for different costs. Now, as you can see here, my average monthly cost for food is $225. That may be low, that may be high for you. I think that's actually pretty low considering that the average, let's see here, is $324 per person. Now, how I've gotten to get that to be as low as it is me and my fiance, we shop around at Costco and Trader Joe's a lot. Those are two pretty low cost options if you're able to buy in bulk from Costco, and Trader Joe's, which Trader Joe's is just usually a very low cost option in general. Usually if you shop at Safeway or QFC, those are actually going to have a higher cost than something like Trader Joe's, even with their membership options, which is insane. It blows my mind how inexpensive Trader Joe's can be. Now with fast food, that's what's going to get a lot of people in trouble. It's so easy to, want to kick your shoes off at the end of the day, be like, I want some Taco Bell. I'm going to get on the DoorDash app. I'm going to order some DoorDash and just blow all your money on fast food. But we have been doing a good job and only spending $25 a month on fast food, which for some people might be insane. They have to have, their Taco Bell, their McDonald's, or anything like that. Their Chipotle. We love Chipotle. But if you can, at least drive to wherever you're going to get your fast food and really keep that cost down. Oh my gosh, fast food is so expensive when you actually add it up. People do not add up their fast food, and they do not realize how incredibly expensive it is. The average that people spend per month on fast food is $148. And I know for a fact that when I didn't add it up, I was spending twice that when I was binging on fast food. So keep that in mind. Now for gas, I used to spend maybe $50 to $100 a month when I was driving. Luckily, I live now 5 minutes away from my work, so that is a huge blessing. But people don't always have that kind of luxury. Sometimes they have to spend 30 minutes to an hour getting to work. So if you're driving 15 miles, that's 30 miles round trip, 30 miles per gallon, which is what I have for a car, is like $5 because it's usually around $5 per gallon around here in Seattle, which of course is insane. That's why going to Costco, which will knock about $1 off for you per gallon, comes in clutch. If you're working 5 times a week, that's $25 a week. In a month, that's $100 in gas. That's a lot of money. $100 just to get to work in gas. That's a work tax right there. That sucks. Now, in paying half of my rent, I pay $700, which is half of $1,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment in Seattle, which is really good because on average, people pay about $1,900 for a 1-bedroom apartment. For you, that might be super expensive because in Texas, which is a place that I've lived, you could get maybe like a $900 apartment for the same kind of setup, maybe a little bit less square footage, but a really nice apartment for that kind of setup. Or if you live further into downtown, it could be twice that. And you could be in a studio apartment and just be in this really dank setup. It's just insane how crazy how much wiggle room there is for a setup like that. But just know that there are options, that there are places that you can go, that roommates really make a big difference in a scenario like this. When you're looking for apartments, which really does make or break your bank account in a lot of scenarios, make sure that you are giving yourself plenty of time to search for these apartments, because I have been in plenty of scenarios where I have been in a time crunch, and that really slims your odds of finding a scenario that you will be comfortable in with your paycheck, because that's a whole year for your bank account to hurt and for you to not be able to buy the things that you need or want. I pay about $100 in utilities. Some of the utilities is included in our rent, but as far as internet service and what was the other thing? Electricity. That is something that we pay separately. I have about $100 set aside for fun or just kind of like other miscellaneous stuff. So if I want to go out and buy like video games or any kind of other miscellaneous stuff, then I have that fund set aside. I can also just like not do anything with that and set aside that for next month. Um, I know maybe for some people $100 may not be a lot. You can put in, if you have like a monthly paycheck that's sizable enough, you can set aside more. I know some people want to set aside enough to like, just be able to hang out and chill, like buy more drinks or be able to buy that new, I don't know, newfangled gadget or something. But just, something to have fun. I get it. Sometimes you need to treat yourself. So long as it's within your budget, go for it. I totally get it. So just keep that in mind. I spend about $136 on car insurance. On average, per person, people spend about $165. I personally use Geico right now. It's best to pay everything up front, but I understand that that can be like $600+ for like 6 months or so. And not everybody has that kind of money up front. Personally, I didn't. So I did a 6-month plan myself. And although it was more expensive, that's just something that I had to do. And that does add up, unfortunately. And because it adds up, they also get the ability to tack on a couple of extra dollars a month because you had to hard brake because someone cut you off. Like, I think that's so insane that car insurance companies can do stuff like that just because you had to hard brake or slow, just like safely do some sort of maneuver, and they dock you for that. I think it's crazy. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to the next one. For insurance, there is low cost insurance that's about $30 a month. There's also government insurance. I won't really talk about the insurance that I'm using personally, but on average, there's about you can spend about, let's see, $117 to $477 a month, which is just like an insane curve. It's really important maybe to find a job that might have those kind of benefits, and like each insurance company has different benefits to each, so really finding a job that has those kind of insurance is important as well. And then last but not least, we have phone bill, which I spend currently $40. I got a really good deal off of Mint Mobile. It's actually a really good company in my opinion. I have unlimited data and everything, and it has done me wonders. I have no complaints over it whatsoever, and you might be thinking $40 a month, that's crazy. There's no way that's possible. It's possible, and I did it, and it's awesome. So if you need any suggestions, do Mint Mobile. It's super cheap. So now that we have gone over where our money is going, it's time to go over some hard truths on saving money. And the biggest truth on that is that it is not easy. Sometimes we have to give up some things that are fun. And I get why that's not easy. We are putting in the sweat and tears into working, and we need to relieve stress. We need to find ways to make sure that we are not going crazy after a 30-40 hour work week. That's hard. And later on in the video, I want to go over, what can we do to make that better? So hold on there. But let's go over some other hard truths, and that is that fast food is also like a really big money sink. So cutting that out as much as possible is a big one. Another big hard truth is that pets are pretty difficult to on the bank account, especially dogs. So if you're a dog lover, I would really, really consider whether or not you can afford one. Cats are a lot more affordable, but when it comes to pets, I mean, You have to think of a pet deposit. You have to think about the food. You have to think about possible damages that they can do to your carpets, whether they dig into your carpets, whether they pee on your carpets, whether they dig into any appliances that you have, like bite into your cords or anything like that. So really debating whether or not having a pet is worth it. Again, I get it. Maybe a pet is a stress reliever. Maybe it is worth it. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying really think about whether or not it's worth it. I would say cats or birds are a lot more cost-effective pet to have around and to kind of relieve that stress. I used to have cockatiels. They're great. I love them. They're really fun to have around. Another hard truth is, well, if things are tough and you don't have the nice car, you can't go out for drinks, you can't go out with friends, hopefully you can just rely on the fact that you have a fridge full of food. Hopefully you have a roof over your head and you have loved ones around you. If you have that as a bare minimum, then use that as a comfort, because not everybody has that. And that is something that I've had to rely on as well, because we have relied so much on material things as a society. And I know that has kind of been beaten into our heads lately, like, oh, we're all materialistic. But really, when things get tough, just know that we can rely on the fact that we are blessed with just the fact that we have heating, that we have food, that we can just pop something in the microwave and just relax and watch Netflix and just hang out for a full hour without being eaten by a tiger. It's just something that's chill. All of this is really just to be able to put ourselves in a position to where we are comfortable. We aren't living in the Taj Mahal, but we are comfortable. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's figure out how we can get on top, how we can make sure that we are never in a position again to where our bank account hit the negative, or we only have $10 in our bank account, or we're just stressed on where we're going to find our next paycheck. So first and foremost, I think the biggest thing that we need is a rainy day fund. I think always having $1,000 set aside for an emergency is big. Here's a here's a secret. I don't even have that right now. I want that. I'm working towards getting that. So if you think, I don't have that, what's this guy talking about? I get it. I'm on the same boat. But that's something that I want to build towards. If you have a lot of debt, this is something that I've learned from gurus and stuff. I agree with this. Pay off your smallest form of credit card debt, because there is a snowball effect. If you're paying, interest on your credit cards, it's best to just get rid of the smallest debt first, because then you're not paying that smallest form of interest, and then you can spend more money on other things, on other debt or food or any other form of financial gain. Now, this may seem like a no-brainer, kind of is, but look into getting more hours at your job, or look into getting a higher paying job. I know that's easier said than done. Sometimes you might be at a max hour job, but maybe it's time to find a higher paying job. That may mean that you need to spend maybe every other day or even every 3 days just going on Indeed and finding a job. And lucky for you, I've actually kind of looked at some jobs that would be both stress-free and something that you don't need a college degree for. So here's some jobs that suck that you can just completely write off. You don't need to even look at. So things that I've done and suck and you don't even need to look at are Safeway, Target, Subway, Panera, pretty much any fast food chain. Don't work at Starbucks. Basically any serving job, any restaurant or cafe job. Those just are stressful. Usually they just aren't worth your time, unfortunately. But jobs that rock and don't require a degree are Trader Joe's, which is a job that I'm currently working at. Papa John's, I've worked there. It's pretty low stress, and you get free food. DoorDash, you don't get. There are times where you can get a decent amount of money, but there are also times where you're kind of just sitting around not doing too much. So it's more of a side gig. I did like a quick Google search. You could become a landscaper, which makes a pretty decent amount of money. There is a learning curve to it. You could work at a gym, which is stress-free. You could be an administrative assistant. You could be a receptionist or a massage therapist. So anything within that realm could be a decent paying job and stress-free. Now, the cool thing about that is if you are reluctant about taking on more hours because your job is stressful, maybe taking on a less stressful job will allow you to take on more hours. So finding these jobs, or even finding a job that allows you to kind of like rise up the food chain, if you will, it just allows you to have more wiggle room and allows you to have more potential to make more money. So just keep that in mind as you're moving forward. So for example, my fiance Dev, she worked in coffee and made about $30 an hour in like with tips, which seems like a lot of money, and for her it was. The problem with that was, even with her 8 years of experience, it was awful. The customers were rude to her. The work environment was terrible. Even the employees were terrible to her. She would go to the back room stressed out. She would cry. There were times where she even fainted. It was terrible. She was just stressed out. But she made the transition to Trader Joe's, which was a much less stressful environment. The customers were better to her. The managers were much, 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 much better to her. But she also made less money. She is much happier, much less stressed, and she's able to take on the hours that she wants, and she's much, much happier. And so this is an environment that she is happy to move up in. She is happy to stay in for as long as she would like. And her home life environment is much better off for it in general. So her doing that has been probably one of the best choices that she has made in her life. And that's something that you guys can do as well. So just as using that as an example, just keep that in mind. There are jobs out there that are mental health aware, they pay well, and that they're safe environments. So with all that being said, I know this is a lot of information. Even applying 2 of these things in your life will be an exponential gain for you. Just hopefully this has been a good resource for you. I know that this isn't a one-size-fits-all, but just being able to figure out how this would fit in your life, I'm sure will give you some sort of help in your life. Anyway, my name is Brandon. Hopefully this helped, and I hope you all are well. Thank you.